Okay, Chair, you're good.
Okay, so it's 9:28. We're coming back in from executive session to reconvene the meeting. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion. I have a second from Orlando Reese. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So there you go. That brings us to the financials.
And Chair, I just want to say that no action was taken during the executive session. And then Rick, did you want me to handle the financials?
Yeah, please, Rose.
Okay. Okay, so on page 11 is the balance sheet. And you'll see the cash in the bank is 944,000. Our accounts receivable is still high because of the receivables from the Kingstonian that aren't due until December. The escrow also high because of the Kingstonian and the amount that they had to put towards the Braille. Sorry, someone's trying to enter the room here. Okay. And there were some accrued expenses for this past year, and I think we finally got them cleared. Most of them cleared out at the beginning of April. Most of it was the bill from Hodgson Russ, and then there's a small amount for the CPA fees for the project's compliance review. Okay, on the profit and loss. The project closing fees here is 38,900 for the month. And then the pass-through fees was just for low-key brills. The administrative staff was much lower for this month. And then the cost benefit analysis software was finally paid for this year. That's the new tool that we decided to use here. The legal fees was an adjusting entry from last year. There really weren't legal fees from Joe Scott yet, but it will get wiped out once the payment comes through from the CRC, and the adjusting entries were made in the month of April, unfortunately, but you'll see that all next month. That's it for me.
Anybody have any questions on the financials? I'll take a motion to accept as presented then. I have a motion with Rick Jones. Do I have a second, Dan Savona? Nothing on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. All right, that brings us to the chair's report. I'm actually going to let Rose touch on a few of these things. We did a pre-screen with very excited over a potential project coming into the area. You've all, I'm sure, seen it in the newspaper or heard about it. You know, it's something that we're doing a lot of legwork on right now. We have to give props to the county executive's office, actually Tim Wiedemann, for working along with and helping us try to expedite the process. And you know, besides all the rancor over the last few years about certain things, these are things that when you work together, or people attempt to work together with each other, that you have some success, and that should be the model for this thing. And I'll leave it at that. I think there's more than enough there. Coming right down to it, I know that there's been a tremendous amount of talk about other things in the area, but it's just that at this time, it's talk. I'd be interested to know more about Enterprise Drive, where they're at, if they're coming or not, or what their plans are. But it's an exciting time for this board and the county as a whole. So that's my report. Got nothing else to say. I'm going to move over to the CEO's report.
I'm going to keep it short. As you all know, I have my assistant here who's not being quiet. So this past month, I did go to the first Hudson Valley IDA peer group meeting that we had, and we're going to meet again next month. After this month, then I think we're going to go to bi-monthly, but we all found it really helpful. It was really engaging. There was concern that we wouldn't have anything to talk about, but we had more than enough to talk about and came up with some wonderful ideas for the agendas going forward and what we can all bring to the table. It was a really impressive group, and it was nice to meet people that understand what you do, the challenges and the good parts. We did, I think for our next meeting, we're going to talk about UTEPs and what we all do. It was very interesting to me. Everybody's UTEP, everybody's philosophies were so different from county to county. Like Westchester County told me they almost only do residential pilots. They don't do very much with businesses, which I found really interesting. And of course, the needs are going to be different across the state. So everybody has different needs and we all do different stuff. But it certainly made sense for us to collaborate and put our ideas together. And we all agreed there's no competition really between all of us, because we're all very different places and we all bring different things to the table. So it was a really great collaboration, and I'm really grateful that Sarah Lee from Dutchess County brought that together. We also briefly talked about the ideas of getting our boards together and having maybe a full meeting where, you board members can commiserate or talk good things with other board members, because again, you're all in unique positions that nobody really knows what you're up to as well. And so there was some talk about going to the culinary for that, so that I'm sure that would be a wonderful treat. So I told them that you all
Dallas hot wieners. How about you just go there?
They're in the media right now, Jimmy. But so that was, that along with working with Cresco this past month and the normal things that we have going on a day-to-day basis was what I had going on this month.
You want to segue into the rest of the communications contract and everything else?
Yes. So on page 13, we have a contract to enter into an agreement with a communications firm for the purpose of educating the public and explaining what it is that we do as an IDA and helping them understand exactly what the projects that we're approving are bringing to Ulster County. Steve, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Well, Rose, thank you very much. I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to join you this morning. I know there are a number of exciting things that are happening in Ulster County. And the bottom line when it comes to communications is either you tell your story or someone else will tell your story for you. And what I do is work with organizations to help them tell their story through a variety of means. I often say that it boils down to two things, content and consistency. And so what I would do is seek to gather the content from a number of outstanding projects that the IDA has been involved in and other ones in the pipeline to come, and then craft a plan to be out there consistently talking about them and sharing the good news with a variety of stakeholders throughout Ulster County. So to the extent that I can be helpful in telling a very positive story for the work that the IDA is doing, I look forward to working with all of you.
Good. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Should we move this to a roll call vote? Rose, or?
Yep, I need a motion and then a roll call vote.
I need a motion to go to a roll call vote for services with the Janet Group for a communications contract. Do I
I
have a
make a
second?
motion, we go
Okay, I have
to
a
roll
motion.
call.
I have a second. Danny?
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We'll move to the roll call, please.
James Malcolm,
Yes.
Diane Einen,
Yes.
Faith Storms is absent with notice. Michael Ham,
Yes.
Orlando Reese,
Yes.
Daniel Savona,
Yes.
and Richard Jones.
Yes.
Wonderful. The motion was adopted.
I would be remiss if I didn't point out Dr. Diane Einen's working group along with Orlando Reese and Faith Storms. With Diane or Orlando, would you like to add anything?
I would just say that we really look forward to working with Steve and his group. I think it became a priority for us to start thinking about how we can best educate the community about the work of the IDA, what it does, how it works, and all the benefits that it brings to the county. And getting a lot of more information out on our websites. Again, it's really a focus on educating the community about our work and what we do.
Orlando, anything?
No, Diane said it all, and I think we're just excited to have this. And it's
I
about
would
time that
just-
we tell our story.
I would just piggyback on what Diane is saying by, if you were to ask me as chair or as a board member for 14 years, what the biggest problem with IDAs is the lack of understanding from the public and quite honestly, from elected officials who, if I put them in a room and gave them a 10 question quiz, I don't know if they would grasp what it's really all about. So we've tried to bang at it. So let's get the professionals in here now that can really help us get the message through and get a real understanding of the work and how we do it. So I wish you the best of luck moving forward with it, sir.
Thank you so
Rose?
much. I appreciate the confidence of all of you, and I look forward to working with you. I'm excited to start this project.
Great. Well, I won't see you again, but I wish you the best. Okay, Rose, moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. On page 17, I know I sent out part of this, but I just wanted to touch base on it. It's very exciting, thrilling reading. On page 17, actually, I did really enjoy this part of it. Page 17 is the 2021 operations and accomplishments. It's part of what's required for Paris. It has to be on our website. So I was able to go through and name all the wonderful things that I think we've done over the last year, and how we've worked together with county officials, and we clawed back or revised pilots as necessary for those that were underperforming and not living up to the expectations or their promises that they had promised the taxpayers of Ulster County. I also touched on how we started to work on changes to our UTAP and all of the policies that we repealed, created, updated, and it was, you all know, you were there. It was a lot of work this past year. So it was kind of nice writing these last couple of years, but this year I felt like was even more good stuff to say. The next page is the authority mission and goals measurement report. All of these things, the real property report, all of this stuff is part of what's required by Paris. Okay, in a minute. Then on page 23 is the finalized audited financial statements from UHY. You all saw like the final numbers, nothing changed with the numbers. The stuff that changed in here was the supplemental that came from me completing the Paris report. So then to conclude that part of it, the Paris report portion, I believe was mailed, it was emailed out to you, but the Paris report portion starts on page 51, and then it goes through everything that we did last year. It has all of our project information, and I'm gonna look forward to putting together a report that concisely explains how many jobs were added to the county and the investment that was put into the county, all of that good stuff, because obviously no one is really going to want to read that massive Paris report in the public, and I would like to share what we've done. Then on page 114, and I wanted to say the Paris report, I know that Diane and Rick know as the audit chair and CFO, I had trouble at the last minute submitting the Paris report, but I emailed a screenshot of the issue to ABO and the date and the time so that they could see what was going on, but I was able to get it submitted on April 1st. So this was the earliest it's been submitted in years, and I was really glad that we were able to get it done on time. Page 114 is the contract with the UCCRC contract for economic development services. This is in conjunction, it kind of works off what we already did last board meeting, but this formalizes what we did with an actual contract because that was the advice of our council. So this is you all voted that we would share a portion of the fee with the CRC for IDA projects. This is the contract with the CRC in exchange for us doing that. The CRC would then provide these economic development services that are here in the contract. So I just need not a roll call vote, just a regular motion and vote to approve the contract between the IDA and the CRC.
Need a motion to approve the contract between the CRC and the IDA regarding services. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I get a second? Orlando, yes. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Rose, or Chair, could I just go back to the
Absolutely.
financials that Rose went through? The 157 report that goes to the legislature, is that going out as it usually does in May, or
Yeah,
where are we with that?
I actually, it should, if it's not out, I mean, it should out by the end of this month. We're almost done with it. There was one more thing that we were working on. One of the problems we had was a bank for one of our projects erroneously sent us back that they still had a bond with us when they didn't. So I halted and I got Joe involved, and Joe confirmed that we are correct, not the bank, thank God. So now I just have to go back and finalize the last bit of changes, Rick.
Okay, so just as a reminder to myself and to everybody, it's a very important report which your legislature required us to perform under Resolution 157. That's why I call it the 157 report. And it's that summary that Rose is referring to, that if they want to see the amount of jobs that have been created and some other real summary information, it's in that report, and it's very useful. It's been very useful to me.
It is a summary, but it's a huge summary. So I'm looking to do something a lot more concise so that people can.
Rose, if I may, and I should have before we voted on it, but the contract between us and the CRC, did we decide on a percentage?
Yes, it was 75-25 was what you all voted on last month.
25 to the CRC and 75 to the IDA.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then the last piece was the approval of the administrative staff contract for July 1st, 2022 through June 30th of 2024, as it was distributed to the board. Did anybody, I don't think we need a roll call, Joe, just a regular vote. Regular vote.
So I'm going to need a motion. There's been discussion, review. I'm going to need a motion to engage in an updated contract with Rose's group for services. Can I get a motion after having reviewed it? Everyone, we reviewed it. Can I get a motion to take the vote, please?
I'll make a motion, Chair.
Let me just correct myself. A motion to accept as presented. Michael, you still making that?
Yes.
Okay.
No, second.
Orlando,
Yes.
second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes my report, Chair.
Okay, Dr. D, you got anything under audit?
No, we don't, even though there is referred to Loki Brill on page 117. There's nothing to report from them. There was no workers on site at Innis during the month of March.
Okay, thank you. Finance, I see Faye is not here, so Rose?
There is no finance report. There won't be a finance committee meeting for a few more months.
Okay. Brings us to governance.
Thank you, Chair. March 31st, we had a governance meeting. It wasn't that lengthy. We had topics we had to discuss. We recently put forward to Joe about drug and alcohol policy, which Joe updated a policy in a form. I think everybody received that in their packet. It's a good policy. Joe, I thank you for that. We also discussed changes to the UTEP and how we had to go to public hearing to do any of the changes. And right now, as most of the members here, the board members know, I think it was Rick, correct me, who else was on your committee for community benefits?
Myself, Rose, and Diane. And
Yeah,
I think Orlando might have been on it also. I don't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys did a great job with that, and we'll be bringing that. Everybody is been following along on that, but we'll bring that back up to speed so we can get that included into the UTEP, and it's going to create better incentives for anybody coming our way in the future by using local contractors and local businesses around here.
Community benefit.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
good.
That's what it says. We also, Joe has a NDA form coming to us. I think it's finalized. Joe, Rose.
Yes, I'm working on that and I'll have that out sometime next week. Yes.
Okay, and that'll go to everybody that we're seeking services with in the future. And that's going to include all employees of whatever company that we're going to service with. Let's see here.
And non-employees, right? It was the subcontractors of the vendors. as
Correct,
well.
everyone included. So we also discussed the housing policy, and as everybody knows, we had a moratorium on that for the last 3 months, and that ended on the 15th of April. In governance, we discussed about extending it another 3 months as the moratorium, and as council can tell you that we can pretty much draw back on that at any given time. We'll have working groups still coming in with more information on how we proceed to help out in housing and what we're going to do with housing, be it affordable, workforce. And, we all know that what's going on. It's not just Ulster County, it's everywhere. So we're looking to help out the best we can. And we're still waiting on some information to come back in.
Just if maybe Tim Wiedemann would shed a little bit of light on it. Is there anything on the horizon that is like it has to be done yesterday as far as a group coming in with a housing that they would need us to come up with something? Because we'd rather get it right and be comfortable with it than rush to get something done. So who do you see out there right now? Golden Hill people, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think Golden Hill is probably the closest to the point where it may need that. I'd have to check with the team and see what the timing is, but I do in principle agree with the thought that, we got to get this right. And, would certainly in my regular updates with Rose flag anything that's coming down the pike at speed if there's something that needs attention. So I think that's worked in the past and would continue to use that to get responsiveness to anything that really needs time. So.
Well, always feel free to share your ideas with her. I know you guys don't have a problem with that, but sometimes the best thing, and I'm one to say it all the time, is a pair of clear eyes and a different perspective. I know the county wants to, it's always been our goal to work hand in hand with the county. So please, if you have an idea, share it. That's all. So, Chair, anything else on the governance?
No, Chair, that's my report. Thank you.
Mike, do we have to act on the extension today?
No, I believe, Joe, we can just have it as a rolling.
It rolls
moratorium,
over.
correct?
There's an evergreen on that, Joe, or no?
Yeah.
I'd have to check that, but I think what we should do is
Do it anyway.
all of us agree that we want to extend it. How much longer do you want? Do you want another 3 months? Because we've been doing 3 months, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
With the understanding that you can cut that short.
Correct. That's right.
It's not in perpetuity. So yeah, okay, then, Rick, would you like to make
I'll
a
make a
motion
motion
to
that
extend?
we extend the current housing moratorium another 3 months.
Okay. Would you add the
yes.
language that we can terminate that at any time?
Yeah, as per the existing resolution that we passed some time ago, there is a provision for that suspension. So the motion is with all the provisions of the current resolution that we just extend 3 months.
Can I have a second on that? Orlando, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good catch, Rick. Thank you very much. So it's going to be extended 3 months then. If nothing else in governance, I'll take a motion to accept the report as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Rick. Do I have a second? Danny, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. That brings us to old business, status of pending projects.
Hey, Rose, did you want me to start?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of new entries or revisions. Romeo, they got their bank financing. We reviewed their mortgage drafts last week, and we're finishing up the papers. We'll have them out in the next day or so. Rose has looked at them and has a couple of questions that we're following up with her. So I would expect that transaction will close next week or the first week of May. So that's Romeo. And then the new addition there is Cresco Labs. And that's a resolution for scheduling a public hearing. Rose has done a lot of legwork to arrange for the public hearing. We have a draft of the notice out to the project applicant for them to review. We need comments back sometime today or tomorrow morning at the latest in order to make our publication deadline, because we've got this on a fast track. And that's what I have as a report, Chair. I'll open it up for any comments or questions.
Anyone?
I have a question, Joe. Wildberry Lodge, that's 4 years in the making here. At what point does that?
The project had asked, reached out to me and via email, so it's in writing, asked that we keep it on here. I did tell him that he would have to go back to a public hearing at this point because it's just been too long.
That was going to be my next question. At what point does it trigger another public hearing? So,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know if
There's
we
nothing
actually
in this.
have language out there for that. You know what I mean? I don't know if we have language. Do we, counsel? If we don't,
No,
we should get some.
And that might be something that we want to do, have like a 2-year or 1-year trigger, expiration date on our public hearing resolution. I always advise from a good governance and a prudent, best practices standpoint, that if a certain amount of time, a year and a half has expired, that we hold another public hearing, because the public's view on the project may have changed, the board's view on the project may have changed, and it's certainly good practice to reach out and be transparent on something like that.
I agree.
Makes sense to me.
So maybe we can take that up, Mike, when we have our next governance meeting.
Yeah, that's.
So, council, what would trigger a second? You're saying that it's stone that haven't broken ground or closed yet, or what's going to determine the 2-year period that would trigger a second public hearing?
Well, there's been absolutely no activity. Zero.
Well, that's what I'm
activity.
saying. Lack of activity, because certain projects can take longer than others. Is what I'm asking, just for
Yeah.
clarification.
Yeah, that would be my advice, sir. Yep.
So is that something we can tackle with governance? Right?
Yes.
Great.
We're doing everything we can to expedite the schedule and move it along. They're having a difficult time, quite frankly, because the town of New Paltz is not an easy place to get some things done. And I see Mr. Moriello smirking and laughing down
And they took a
there.
beating during COVID too. He took
part of the
a
nation.
pounding. He took
would
a pounding
understand.
for 2 years.
Yeah, well, listen, there's been boards that have applicants that have come to us and gotten it through. So whatever your reason is, whatever the rationale is, it's frustrating looking at the same name all the time, but we get it.
All right.
Okay, that it, Joe?
On
that-
pending projects, yes. Yes,
Okay.
Chairman. Thank you.
Status of pending enforcement matters.
Yes, Rose has done a good job keeping me on task here. I've got signature pages out for you being delivered to Rose's office today for Greenhouse and Darien Lake. That'll wrap those 2 matters up. And with respect to Golden Hill, I'll make another phone call to the city assessor just to see if they want us to do anything. There has not been a pushback. There's not been a pushback from them in terms of asking for us to take any action with respect to a clawback bill. I'll wrap that up. So with any luck, this pending enforcement list will be zeroed out for the next meeting.
So, Joe, one other question. So, although as a board we enact the clawback provision, okay,
Mhm.
the municipalities are the final word on the decision whether or not they want to claw back?
No, but my understanding, well, let's let's start at the beginning. The clawback provision is a may. It's not a mandatory. So it's similar to a bank foreclosing on a mortgage or recovering under a note. It's a discretionary act. My understanding of the IDA's position with respect to Golden Hill was that I was to reach out to the city to see if the city has any desire for us to quote, go after, if you will, Golden Hill. If the IDA on its own wants me to calculate a bill, presumably with the assessor's help, as to what the difference would have been for only 1 year, they only had the pilot benefit 1 year of the taxes and the pilot bill, I can certainly do that and send them a bill. But the direction that I understood was that I would reach out to the city and see if the city wanted us to do anything. The property is on the tax rolls and they have been assessed taxes, and to my understanding that the Golden Hill people have been paying taxes. So we've accomplished the 50,000 foot issue of terminating the IDA abatement, putting them back on the tax rolls, and having them subject to taxes and a tax lien if they fail to make their payments.
Yeah, I should touch base on that. As part of, I met with the assessors a couple of weeks ago, and I should have said that in my report. I had it written down, but I missed it. I did touch base with Dan Baker about Golden Hill. He would like us to reconvene with him on it, Joe, so that we can get that bill calculated. And just to add to it, the meeting with the assessors was really awesome. Like, I don't have a better word for it. I spoke with them for about an hour. I was surprised. I was tired of talking by the time I was done, but they asked a lot of good questions. And honestly, we had some really good dialogue, and I look forward to going back once or twice a year to meet with them and keep the open lines of communication and work together to make sure that we, pilots are calculated consistently and correctly, and that we're all on the same page.
We're very lucky that Rose is our CEO. She continues to raise the bar and challenging herself to, to kind of make this thing a little bit more progressive. So thank you for meeting with these people, and can't do anything but help to tell them what we do, so maybe there's consistency across the board. So, what else do we have here now? New business. Boy, I see a lot of people here today. Resolution authorizing amendment to basic documents for Innis. Who's going to handle that one? Michael?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. By the way, before I handle it, let me just editorialize here for a second. I've been friends with Jim for a very, very long time, but I just wanted to say—
You don't get a first prize for that.
Well, I just want to say how much I appreciate all he's done for the Ulster County IDA, and he's been a tireless worker. He's dealt with a lot of issues, and the IDA, in my opinion, right now is operating very, very well. It's I think a decidedly different board than it had been for a while there. And I just want to tell everybody that I appreciate Jim's efforts and all his expertise and his knowledge and acumen. And I hope that if there's new members appointed, that they follow a business model and appointing people that, want to encourage business. Because as I've said before, if we weren't in New York, we wouldn't even need IDAs if we had a good tax structure and a good business structure. So I just wanted to tell everyone that I really appreciate everything that Jim's done. So
thank you. Thank you.
As far as the extension goes, I think that I have Charlie Blakeman on, and I think I have Tavo Summer on. I don't know if Andrew Kellner is on, who is the general counsel down in New York City. But the request is to extend the tax exemption letter, no additional funds requested, but to extend that tax exemption letter until December 31st, 2023. The applicant submitted a letter request to the board detailing the difficulty that they've had during COVID and with suppliers and with contractors. And I can let them speak to that if the board would like to hear more about it. But that's where we are now in the request for extension. There is a second issue that is also on the docket, which I'll let Joe explain more because he's really the architect of it and he's the guy that brought it to our attention. The current deed to the premises has the golf course still on it. Now, the golf course, as everyone knows, is out of the pilot. It's outside the pilot. It's not part of the pilot. We have been in contact with Joe Scott. I've talked to Jeremy Baraka, who is the new assessor in the town of Rochester. Everyone is aware of that. As we modify these documents going forward, Joe has a modification agreement for us. We've been working with Andrew Kellner to make sure that everything is set with Deutsche Bank down in the city, who is the mortgagee for the entire project. So we get whatever releases we need and whatever we need to confirm that that is in fact the case. I am told by Andrew, and hopefully he's on today. If he's not, we'll have to confirm it with Joe, but I'm told that Innis NY LLC will be the fee owner of the property and we'll continue as we've done to date. The current deed is in Innis NY LLC's name, and it was recorded on October 9th, 2019. It has, you may recall, 131 acres associated with it. Our issue had come about because the spa property was added to that property to make it, I think, 133 acres. Spa property is 2 acres. And unfortunately, that spa property was put in a different name. That has all been merged now, but we want to make sure that for pilot purposes, we memorialize it correctly so that the golf course is outside of what continues under the pilot. So those are the two issues.
And essentially, just to, just 1 second, counsel. So what we're saying is whether there's another subsidiary, whatever it is, it doesn't foul up the equation. It's the same principles. There's no issues there. So we don't have to go back in for that. Go ahead, Joe.
Right, and actually, I'm following up on your point, Chair. The two issues that are on the table for the Innis project are, one, the point that Mr. Moriello discussed, which is extending the sales tax letter for approximately a year. And again, given COVID, given supply chain, that's not an entirely unusual request. That's something that we've seen with other IDA projects throughout the state. And the important point that Mr. Moriello also made was that there's no additional benefits being requested here. So it's the same project, same amount of benefits, just a longer period of time to complete the matter. The discussion from Mr. Moriello about the real estate is something that we addressed at a prior meeting many months ago, and it's just taken some time to get wrapped up. We expect to have it wrapped up in the very near future, Mr. Moriello so indicated, but that doesn't need to be approved today because frankly, the IDA already approved that. That was an issue raised some time ago. The point that the chairman alluded to was an issue that Rose discovered as she was going through the Paris reports and the job numbers for this matter. Rose, do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to go into the background?
No, I was
So
going to say.
if I
Go
could,
ahead.
before you go any further, I want to recuse myself from consideration of Innis. I've done that all through the project.
We'll make that
Because-
standing, Rick, okay, that you recuse yourself on anything to do with Innis based on your position in that town, in that municipality.
Right, so
Okay.
I'm gonna unmute myself.
Do whatever you want to do. You're okay. Go ahead, Rose.
I was gonna say, when we were doing the reporting for Innis, we did find that there was a change in the employer, and it bars us from being able to count all of the employees that they've used at the project. They've gone above and beyond the employment levels that they had promised, and I mean like tenfold. So we want to be able to count that, and they promised, I think, 10 jobs, and they're close to 50 something FTEs, although there are about 100 employees. So we want to make sure that they get credit for all that they've added to the county, and it's an important step to add that here. Joe.
Right, and in that vein, if you go to the resolution, page 122 of the materials, you'll see in paragraph B, there in the first whereas paragraph, we talk about any related companies to Innis operating the facility. So what's going on there is they have, and maybe Mr. Moriello can go into more detail if the board wants, but it's not that unusual to have a real estate holding company and an operating company operating the entity, and the documents define or refer to the company hiring the jobs, and the company is the company that made the original application, which in this case was the real estate holding company. The real estate holding company doesn't technically have any jobs, so technically there's a violation, even though, as Ms. Woodworth said, there's extensive numbers of employees at the facility. So what we're doing is making a technical fix to our clawback agreement just to make sure that all our paperwork lines up properly.
Yeah, and most of our projects have holding companies that hold the properties, and then have a second company that deals with the employment. So it's not any different than what we already
All
do.
right, so this is nothing new, right? Correct?
That's
Does
right.
that solve the matter? Mr. Moriello, you're good?
Yes, I'm fine. If when Joe's fine, I'm fine.
Circle gets the square. Can we take you guys off the board? Are you going now?
Yes, if you're, do you need a vote on the resolution?
We
or
need
is
a
it-
vote. We need a roll call vote here, Jimmy.
Make
on
a
page
motion to go into a roll call vote on the resolution regarding Innis. Can I get a second? I have a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Please roll call, Rose.
James Malcolm,
Yes.
Diane Einen,
Yes.
Faith Storms is absent with notice. Michael Ham,
Yes.
Daniel Savona,
Yes.
Orlando Reese,
Yes.
and Richard Jones. Oh,
Okay, good.
he recused himself.
See, unless he keeps saying it, you forget it.
I know, I know.
Just keep bringing it
He
up.
didn't
Rick.
have to
Don't
say
let them
anything,
trick
just
you.
smile. That's all he had to do. Just smile, Rick.
Don't let them trick you, Rick.
And sorry,
Okay.
Rose, who moved the resolution?
It was Mike, and then
Okay.
Orlando seconded.
All right. So, Innis people, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Trying to get it down to one screen today.
Thank you.
Charlie,
guys.
how are
Thanks.
you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Thank you very much.
Glad we could get through the thing. All right.
Me too.
Resolution consenting to mortgage for Marlboro District Route 9 LLC.
Joe, can you take that, please?
Will do. Thank you, Chair. This resolution is exactly what it says at the very top. It's consenting to a mortgage. This is an ongoing IDA project. We have an interest in the real estate due to our undertaking and granting financial assistance to the project. The company has gone out and done some additions and some additional construction. They need to encumber the property with a mortgage. They're asking us to consent to that mortgage because we have an interest in the property. This is a typical and routine request post-closing on projects. There's no financial assistance being granted. They will pay the mortgage recording tax. So the IDA is not providing any assistance. So there's no change in the project, no change in the amount of benefits. And with respect to our pilot agreement, any improvements to the project are subject to normal tax. So there's no benefits being extended to this project applicant, and no additional liability that the IDA is exposed to. And with that, I'll open it up for any comments or questions.
Nothing being said. Do we need a roll call vote on this as well?
Just one, Joe,
Pardon me?
I think you said, so the increase in the assessment for the new property does not come under the previously granted tax inducement. It
That's
sits
correct.
alone. Okay.
That's correct. Right.
Standalone, Rick.
Okay.
Do we need a roll call, Rose? Rick or Rose? Yes. I need a
Yes.
motion then to take a roll call vote. Danny, would you like to offer that up? Okay, Danny's busy. Mike?
Yes.
Mike,
Okay,
No.
Orlando's a second.
thank you.
Jim, I was reading
Those in
some, sorry,
favor?
man. I'll
Yes.
second that.
Okay, let's move to a roll call vote on that, on the,
James Malcolm,
yes.
Diane Einen,
Yes.
Jay Storms is absent with notice, Michael Ham,
Yes.
Daniel Savona. Yes.
Yes,
All
yes.
right, Orlando Reed
Yes.
and Richard Jones.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chairman, I
Okay,
was finishing reading something, sir.
no, that's fine. I mean, I was reading something myself and kind of got lost there for a minute, so I didn't want to
Not a
bother.
problem.
Gloucester Street Capital LLC.
Okay, so I would start on page 139. I did solicit the help of Tim Wiedemann. It's been a really long time since I've worked on graphs in Excel. I did try. I had the right idea, I think, Tim, but he was able to put it together and make it look pretty for us. On page 139, something I thought that was really important should be called out for you all to see is the wages that are proposed by Cresco Labs versus the wages that are currently in the town of Warsing. Okay, so the light, it's harder. I'm looking at black and white. I hope you all are looking at color, which is better to look at. But the lower bar on the 25 to 35,000 range, and the next one up, the 35 to 49, the lower bar is the amount being paid to people in Warsing right now. The darker bar is what's being proposed by Cresco for the bulk of their employees. Okay. The next page, page 140, you can also see the hypothetical tax payments. And then again, I'm looking at black and white, so it's a little bit difficult. So if the project proceeds with, if the project does not go forward, there will be a stagnant amount of taxes that's around 50,000 or 30,000 a year. It doesn't even really show up on the graph that you're looking at. I want to say that it was green. And I meant to, hold on, I can pull up right here a screen share real quick so that I can show you, because I'm struggling to do this in black and white, guys. Okay, so there's a green line all the way at the bottom. You can barely see it. It looks like the base of the chart because it's so low to zero. Okay, but it's about $30,000. The next amount, if the is column C. If the project proceeds with the pilot, there will be approximately $29 million in taxes paid to the county, the school, and the town. If the pilot did not proceed, then they would go for what they're inherently able to get, which would be the 485B exemption. And that would be the next dark line. It's like the dark gray color. And that would be $48 million. The hypothetical full tax, just to give you an idea of what it could be, but it really would not be, because there's no way this would go forward without a pilot. And even if it could, they would obviously get the 485B, would be the 57 million just above it. So you can see that if they go forward with this, this is just a visual to give you that there will be $29 million added in taxes coming to the county.
You enforce the fact that this isn't a deviated pilot. This is standardized pilot, correct?
Right, and they're coming looking for a standard pilot based on their qualifications, although they're well above the points to get a regular standard pilot. That's all that they're asking for. So with that, I'm gonna stop talking, and I think the project, we have Sabrina, Noah, and then.
I just want to say something before we get into the company reps. Ulster County, my whole life, I remember Ellenville 40 years ago and 45 years ago when it was thriving. A lot of business going on there. You know, community, the Neville, other things, and quite honestly, you just see it dying on the vine the last 10 or 15 years, clearly. So this is huge. This is a huge project, and the ripple effect, I'm sure, is going to be felt for years and years. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Rose.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Chair and Rose, can I just squeeze in a word? I'll be very brief, but I just wanted to echo what you were saying, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for taking this project up. You know, I think especially to Rose and Joe, they've been really working with me in the background over the last year to make sure that this project got through the early stages and was formed in a way that would lend itself to the support of the IDA. Ultimately, as Rose pointed out, this project would not move forward without some incentives. The site that they are occupying, as you point out, Mr. Chair, has been dormant for a long time. And when I set foot on it, I was surprised to see what I saw, which is that what was formerly an industrial site with lots of manufacturing on it was now mostly a wetland. And that's a challenge that we should be thinking about for brownfield sites all over the county, that if they sit dormant for too long, what was an industrial asset becomes an environmental asset, which is also good, but good in a very different way. And so I think this is really an example of what we want to be doing, both in terms of brownfield remediation and brownfield redevelopment, and also, you know, really what the IDA, as you read its mission every time we join in this meeting, Mr. Chair, it's really the mission of the IDA to conduct projects like this and support them as they create new sectors in our economy and add quality jobs. You know, I think we've really put a lot of work into this over the last year or so, and Sabrina and her team will go into some detail about the project, and really a lot of credit to them. They've been a pleasure to work with, really a unique and rare experience in the economic development world, to work with a team so capable and so committed to our community and to this project. And so I just really appreciate you all taking the next steps forward on this project, and I'm here to help and support in any way I can.
All right, well, listen, thank you. I appreciate that. And now, with no further ado, let's turn it over to our 420 people. I don't know what 420 means. I'm getting these notes about 420, and to tell you that I'm so far out of bounds, I have no idea, but let's just go ahead with it.
It is ironic, but yeah, so we have Sabrina, Noah, and then we have Christian. I'm not even gonna try to ruin your last name, Christian, here, representing the project. As Tim said, we've been in discussion with them for a while and really explaining to them what's important in Ulster County, how the wages are important. Their project labor agreement that you'll hear about is important. And I think they've really done a good job of listening, as opposed to coming in and telling us what we need. They've certainly listened to the locals in the town, and they've listened to us. So I'm excited for them to present what they've got here and explain the project and what they see coming to Ellenville. Go ahead.
Thank you, Rose, and good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Board. Sabrina Noah, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs here at Cresco Labs. With me today, I have Christian Picara, VP of Government Affairs, Marcia Maxwell, Regional Director of Government Affairs, both New York residents, as well as Adam Gordon, our bond counsel. Rose, would you be so kind as to allow Christian to present today? He will be running this morning's PowerPoint. And I echo the comments of everybody who has kind of introed our project. Special appreciation to Rose and Joe for their support. This has been a thoughtful and very visible and transparent process. Appreciation to all of our friends in Ulster County, Wawarsing, and Ellenville. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Malcolm, I can't say what a beautiful community it has been, what a welcome it has been. It's been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get to know this community and find a home for this wonderful Hudson Valley facility.
I hope that's a message you carry from ocean to ocean, that Ulster County is a great place to do business. You know, we're starting from the bottom and we're moving up. So hopefully you guys will be an example, and please enough with the compliments to me, because I certainly don't deserve them. The working people with the county and our professionals are the ones. So please move forward.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Christian, when we're ready, let's raise that deck.
Yep.
And Mr. Chairman, 420 is a customer and patient appreciation holiday. So it is not lost on us, the unique nature of today's date.
I read yesterday it was a day of celebration, so I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Rose. That's a lovely way. That's a
I
lovely
feel
way.
like the
to
guy
put it.
in the back of the school room nodding his head yes and having no idea. But go ahead.
Slide, please. So we're just going to start very, very briefly. Cresco Labs was founded in 2013 in Chicago, Illinois. We currently employ 3,000 employees across our 10 network states. Right now, we have 21 production facilities and about 50 dispensaries. And I say this to help the board understand that we are bringing a level of excellence and experience that is unprecedented within the industry. We pride ourselves on being compliant. We pride ourselves on normalizing and professionalizing cannabis and really keep that at the core value of our mission. Slide. As we've discussed community today so frequently throughout today's presentations, community impact is the heart of our business and the heart of our company. We pride ourselves on always bringing business opportunities to communities and patients. We prioritize local hiring and building workforce development pipelines to ensure that the community has the first right to qualify for jobs and contracting opportunities. We engage with local community stakeholders and civic organizations and have supported numerous local events. I particularly enjoyed my work with the Noonday Club and the local chapter of the NAACP and the Masonic Temple. We focus on strengthening our community attachments. We have dedicated hundreds of hours, and in fact, every single employee is given 36 hours of paid time off every year to volunteer in their communities. Slide. A key component of the New York program, the cannabis program, is a commitment to social equity. At Cresco, we have a world-class leading social equity program called SEED. This focuses on restorative justice, a community business incubation, and education and workforce development, which will be critical to this project as we partner with community colleges and universities to develop a thoughtful talent pipeline to support this facility. Slide. Slide. It's very important to me as we discuss projects to think about where we have come from and where we have been and where we are going. And so as we have discussed, and as Tim mentioned in his introduction, this once critical infrastructure to the communities of Warsing and Ellenville served as a key manufacturing corridor. Currently, it is in disrepair and as Tim said, has certainly started to return to its natural state. We are proud to propose and have, through the support of our locals, a lovely manufacturing facility, as you'll see on the right. And I also want to highlight that it's critical to understand that while we are dealing with a cannabis plant, the interior and the function of this facility is the exact same as this site has always housed, a manufacturing facility. Our proposed building was sitting on 90 acres, approximately 300,000 square feet. Our operations will focus on cultivation, production, distribution, and manufacturing. There will be no retail sales allowed on premises. Slide. As we orient ourselves to the project, you'll kind of see here within this zone where the parcels are situated, the two adjoining parcels that house the Schrade Channel Master site. And then if we go to slide, you will see a close up of the orientation of the building, its parking, as well as the DEC easement that will maintain through the longevity of the project. As we talk about project timing, we're anticipating $209 million in construction costs with an anticipated completion date of April 2024. The experts on the phone can understand how challenging it is to build a building in today's America. So we're very hopeful and grateful for the support to stay on timeline from our regional partners. We're estimating about $150 million in building construction costs and about $26 million in infrastructure improvements. Most important for me, and as discussed with many of your members across, I'm very committed to a thoughtful riparian corridor and beautiful new landscaping. As you come down Main Street into Wawarson and Ellenville, and you currently look left, you see this slab that is obviously pockmarked and has not been utilized to its full potential. Part of our plan includes a commitment of restorative habitat to really make this entry into this beautiful community deserving of what the town deserves. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Christian Ficarra to cover some of the details of today's IDA application.
Thank you, Sabrina. Good to see everybody. Good morning. So it's been widely reported that we expect to bring no less than 375 full-time jobs to the facility once we're operational. A majority of these positions are quality entry and mid-level positions. That'll include anything from shift and office managers to warehousing and packaging agents, purchasing and logistics leads, and even facility maintenance and engineers, just to name a few kind of job descriptions. I also want to note that these positions don't require previous experience. A majority of them don't require previous experience or advanced degrees. So there's going to be broad opportunities for local residents and young professionals who are going to be interested in working with us. And we also anticipate that 75 to 85% of our full-time staff will be all sourced locally.
Will you be working with economic development? Because we all know it's going to be difficult finding that amount of people. Do you have plans on working hand in hand with economic development in the county?
Yes, absolutely.
Whatever.
Yeah, Jim, absolutely. Yeah, we have a broad range of strategies and methods where we develop talent pipelines, work with local universities, community colleges to make sure that folks are understanding of the opportunities within a given area, and then can understand the training methods to get onboarded and to find source employment for us.
Christian, I saw somewhere in the local newspapers over the last week that the 375 number went up to 450.
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't address the newspaper articles, but we've been consistent in our reporting of 375 as our goal for our first few years of operation. So we appreciate the wonderful, thoughtful press that has been and the excitement in the community. But we are committed at this time in our application at 375, sir.
And Rick, I might just mention that there's 100 construction jobs, I think, and maybe you're going to get to that, Christian. So that may be where that number came from.
Hold a second. We have our vice chair looking to ask a question. Diane?
Yeah, Jim, Chair, is this okay to be asking questions as we come up on these slides, or do you want us to wait till?
Well, you can wait. It's just, I know, talking about 375 jobs, number one, the first day you open, you're not going to have 375 people there.
No, I have questions.
It's my understanding, I think anyone else is that, when they say a few years, within 2 or 3 years, that's what they intend on having. So, that's got to be, maybe that's part of the, the pilot, whatever it is. We will hold questions, but sometimes people forget their question as we go through slides. So if we make them short and to the point, fine.
Okay, I can do that. So it's about the salaries actually in the application. And I saw the nice graphic that was put together that Rose presented, which was really helpful. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the 47% in the application, 47% of jobs will be in the $12.86 an hour to $19.28 an hour. And $12.86 an hour is $26,000 a year, which is just above the $25,000 that the average person in Ellenville makes. But if you take it up to the end of your range there, it's $19.28, which is $38,000 a year, which is really significant at that level, right? If you're going from 26 up to 38. So I guess my question is, Ellenville is a depressed area and wages are already low. And you're bringing a great project, I think, into Ellenville. The job creation, everything looks, really like a huge benefit for that community in particular. But I do wonder if there's any way that you can be more specific about where those wages are actually going to fall, because that's almost half of them.
There's a chart that they've included towards the end that has it laid out, and actually it's $15 an hour. It is one thing we discussed, the bulk of them were $15 an hour. one thing we discussed is that our application has that obviously huge range. And that was one of the things that we all,
Yeah,
I'm
that's right.
sorry, Rose, where might I find that then? I apologize. I didn't see that.
She's gonna, I think that the little
Page
thing that we're missing
174.
too is these $13 an hour jobs are near to it. We're not including the benefits.
Benefits.
So
I understand.
theoretically, if you were making $13 an hour, that's $520 a week. And it's 30K a year, but
Yep. I understand.
to put an extra $2 in, you're subject to payroll tax versus the, listen,
Yep.
happy, it's hard to get benefits. So I guess for reporting's sake, they can't utilize that and tell you because it's a non-taxable thing, but I don't know what their benefit package is worth, a few dollars, $3 an hour, whatever it may be, but I really think that you have to be mindful of that.
Of course. The question is still,
Pointing it out.
yeah.
And Diane, if I can do a little simple math for you too, that's a great call out actually. In the addendum where there's that chart, they highlight specific salaries and where we come in at. The floor is 15 and with benefits included,
Okay.
we're averaging right around $18 an hour.
Awesome. Thank you. Helpful.
Great. And so let me get back to this chart right here. We're on this slide. Everybody can still see my slide, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Great. So aside from the competitive salaries and benefits that we'll get into not only here and on the next page, I also wanted to mention that there are going to be a significant amount of upward mobility opportunities, and specifically for folks to reach upwards of six-figure incomes in management and leadership positions as time goes on. So while these are a lot of entry-level positions, there's great growth potential so people can make a career here instead of just a temporary or short-term job.
Christian, when you mentioned that there's going to be local hiring, local as in Ulster and contiguous counties, where are you drawing?
Yeah.
In that context, any thought to including some sort of housing allowance for some of these people or housing provisions to perhaps be able to draw people into Ellenville to actually live there and be closer, a much more integral part of that community?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll start with the first point, which is we really are targeting that mid-Hudson Valley region, Dutchess, Orange, Rockland, Sullivan, and obviously Ulster, but in that immediate area to make sure that those folks have the first bite at the apple. And then, like I said, in terms of doing some kind of engagement with local schools and community colleges and workforce development organizations, I think that'll be a big part of what we do in terms of making sure local residents have those opportunities first and foremost. And on the second point, I think that's a great flag. I'll happy to write that down and see what we can look into on that.
Oh, the 375, is that full-time equivalents or is that head count?
Full-time
FTEs.
equivalents.
Okay. And Tim, I think you mentioned that number that I remember from some newspaper article that represents the construction jobs. Was that my
Yes,
confusion?
that's my understanding. I think I recall from the Freeman
Okay.
article that it mentioned 375 operational jobs at the facility and 100 construction jobs.
Just
My
as
my
a
bad.
note, there'll probably be more than 100 construction jobs. And
Sure. Yeah.
we always talk about, we seem to forget that local labor is an integral part of these things. And usually having been part of negotiations of PLAs over the years, there's always a portion in the PLA where local labor, we stress local labor. So it's on both sides of the fence, long-term jobs and short-term. So it's going to be a good project, couple of years worth of construction. Excellent project.
And I just want to touch on, I know we touched on the compensation side. I just want to button that up on the benefit picture. Employees for Cresco receive a full suite of benefits, and that includes family and medical leave, paid parental leave, paid time off, wellness days. I know Sabrina mentioned wellness days and paid volunteer time. We also offer a brand new 401k program where we match 50 cents to every dollar vested. And then we also offer pet insurance, which is great for anybody who's got some little family members as well.
I have a question, if I can, about that. Is there any like continuing education, professional development training that'll be part of the benefit package?
Yep. Sabrina,
Absolutely.
go ahead.
So many, as I mentioned in our introduction, understanding that there is, that we are a manufacturing facility. So any certifications that are received as a part of your job, if it's forklifter training, if it's getting your Safe Serve certificate as a part of our kitchen and manufacturing team, we cover and compensate those. And then those certificates, hopefully you stay a Cresco employee. And as Christian mentioned, go anywhere throughout our 10 network states and our 18 production facilities. But if you do choose, you can take that certificate and obviously have an exceptional opportunity to jump into a new career or stay within the cannabis space. We do have limited continuing education dollars set aside, which include, online webinars and conferences as well.
So in the benefit package, Sabrina or Christian, you mentioned family and medical leave. Is there actual medical insurance being provided, or is that?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And
absolutely. Full medical, dental, and mental health. Yes, sir.
Provided by the company, or obviously with a contribution from the employee, or how is that working? Just for my own information.
Absolutely. Provided by the company. We do have some section of employee contribution. I've been a member of many corporations, including international companies, and I do believe that our compensation and the percentage of employee contribution is very minimal compared to other corporations. There is some small percentage, but again, as with any healthcare package, there's a range of prices and packages and health benefits, and the employee is in control of choosing what level they would like. All of those, of course, comply with both federal and state law as it comes to minimum standards. I believe truly that our package of health benefits, dental, vision, and mental health benefits is extremely comprehensive.
Okay, thank you. And Christian, just real quick on that comment that I made about housing. I know that housing is not your lane, and it's always good for a company to stay in your lane. But if you were to participate with some sort of a creator of housing, quote unquote, affordable housing, I don't know what I'm not going to commit for how the board would look at that, but that's the kind of workforce housing directly connected to this project and the people who work there, and specifically and only for those people who work there, quote unquote, would be something unique. And I could see this board being very attracted to the possibilities of that, as well as perhaps even the county executive's office represented by Tim Wiedemann. So again, stick to your lane, but to do some sort of cooperative project with somebody who is in the lane of doing more affordable housing, it's like, oh my God, that would be great for Allenville.
I think, Rick, honestly, what you're mentioning there is just part of the committee that you're a part of. It's a community benefit. I don't know, this is something that we incentivize people for doing. So it's a community benefit. It's what we're presenting anyhow.
And I would just interject, if I might, that we've had many conversations at the local level about the scale of this project and other things really happening in the Ellenville area, and how those just lead to the continuing challenge that we have all over the county about availability of housing. And I think ultimately the addition of 375 quality jobs to the economy in Ellenville, I suspect will drive renewed interest in new housing development down there. We've seen some of that interest already, and we'll be eager to support that in whatever ways we can.
Tell them not to change their zoning, Tim. Don't let them get up into 4 and 5 acre plots and everything else. But right now, Ellenville is like the French Riviera. Everybody's looking to buy property there and put in houses or townhouses.
I think that's the first time anyone's ever said that. Terry Houck, you hear that? And thanks for being on the call, by the way.
Yeah. So
yes, I did hear that. Yes.
It's all good. It's all good. It's Ellenville is going to come roaring back, and it's going to be a model for communities in the area statewide as well. So please continue with your presentation.
Right. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, and aside from full-time employment, we have opportunities for them as well as independent contractors and vendors. And this is an interesting point that not a lot of folks think about when we set up facilities. For example, when we outsource to services in areas where we do business, we look for businesses to help us with landscaping and lawn services, waste management, pest control, facility maintenance and repair, and janitorial services even. So we hope and expect those outsourced services will generate new and a revitalized opportunity for local business as well.
If I may add, I'd like to ask a question. So as far as local labor goes, who have you been talking to with local labor? If you could elaborate on that.
Sure. Sabrina?
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael, for the question. We have been in good faith negotiations with Mr. Todd Diorio. I believe you know him, Michael, as well as Mr. Malcolm. We had a thoughtful conversation last night. So we are progressing, and I think we're getting to a very good place in ensuring that the facility is under a PLA that meets the needs of the local labor union. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you have a concern, Michael? Is there something out there that
You know,
outside of the normal negotiation process?
no, it's ongoing, Jim. You know, there's some hiccups and it's ongoing. And I know they're anxious to get it taken care of for the benefits of everyone in Ulster County and with hardworking people, you know, in the building trades. You know
you
it's a
know
good,
the
great
old
project.
rule, Mike. Ask for more, you're going to get less. So I'm sure it'll have a good ending.
Yes, I'm positive. It's you know, this group has been very good, and you know, is piggybacking off what Tim said. You know, this